Hello and welcome back. This is my third video, and welcome if you're new here. So I think I did list a trigger warning. However, this video hopefully isn't too triggering because really I just wanted to talk about attachments and relying on external sources. So, this does play into my personal mental health, and maybe some of you can relate as well. I know I like to think of myself as a social person, and I do enjoy friends and I do enjoy many people, but unfortunately, I'm also the kind of person who tends to attach myself too heavily to the people around me, and I even lose my identity to the types of people that I surround myself with. So, for example, if I'm friends with, like, let's take some stereotypical examples, but like the cool kids, I will do everything in my power to look, act, talk like them and present myself in that way to the point where I start to even believe it myself that this is who I am and this is really what I like and what I think. And it could be with a group like that, or even in a small group where it's just me and another person, and the both of us have an amazing connection, but I feel like there are things that we don't connect on, so I'll unintentionally mold my personality to match theirs. And this is not just with them, it happens in my day-to-day even when I'm not around them. And this is common in relationships, in friendships, in I think really it can carry anywhere in your social life. I think it's important to talk about because I'm someone who struggled with it myself, kind of, identifying with my groups and really attaching myself to other people and losing my identity to it. And also, in general, attachment itself is really the root of everything. So let's dive into attachment. Attachment takes so many forms. We can have healthy attachments to people that we just love, and when we see them, it's like that is someone I care about, that is someone I cherish. And it's like you feel ambient when you're with them and like really amazing. Those are great. We all have people like that in our lives, I hope. And then we have people who we are not so healthily attached to. And this shows up in different forms, of course, which we'll go through. But for myself personally, I've dealt with a fair share of unhealthy attachments with people who are wonderful, but the attachment itself was what kind of failed our friendships or relationships or whatever it is. So let's get into some healthy forms of attachment. So I'm not going to go through attachment styles or like the type of person, because I think that you can have different attachments with different people, even if you have an attachment style. So like if you're avoidant or insecure attachment, or you have secure attachment, of course, I believe that it's all true. However, I think that it can also differ with different people too. Like the way I'm attached to my mother is not the same way I'm attached to my father, is not the same way I'm attached to my sister or my boyfriend. And those may all be healthy or unhealthy, but the attachments themselves are very different according to the individual. Like I'll start, for example, with a healthy attachment I have to my grandmother. My grandmother is a really big part of my life, and in fact, she primarily raised me and took care of me, made sure I was taken care of all throughout my life. In fact, I am still living here with her, and we had an amazing childhood together where, every day was like park and cooking and playing Barbies, and we had like all these fun things that we did. And the positive effects of my attachment with my grandmother were the good things that poured into my friendships. So like the way I care for people, or like how bubbly I can be when I'm in a good mood. It's all aspects of myself that I get from my grandmother. And so I feel really thankful for that, because those were good moments and good ways to demonstrate to me what a healthy relationship and healthy love can look like. So, I love, it's gonna sound weird, but I love older women, but not in that way. So I feel especially drawn to women who are past the young age group, like, so let's say 30 and beyond, because um, I enjoy like womanhood and just seeing like the developing phases that a woman goes through. And I kind of like glorify it in a strange way because it's like beautiful to me. And so watching my grandmother when I was born, she was like 40, so she was relatively young, raised me from that age, and seeing her age as a woman and everything, it really created good confidence in me for aging. And it created this like sort of filter where I really am sensitive to older women. Like I try to get along with them and sort of bond with them often because of this experience. So that's an example, different with everyone. And so then that's an example for me, like a healthy relationship that I have. Another healthy relationship I have in my life would be my best friend. She and I have known each other since we were quite literally born, and our moms were like pregnant at the same time, had us 3 days apart. It's amazing. If you know who she is, you know who she is. She literally lives with me. Like her clothes and everything are here. Like we live together, we work together, we're obsessed with each other, but in a really healthy way, I promise. But why this is a really healthy friendship for me is we're so positive with each other, but we're also really real with each other, and we've been that way forever. You know, if I'm doing something that's kind of stupid or kind of like outside of my character, she'll call me out, but so lovingly, and she'll always be like, like she'll tell me what it is and be like, but like I'm here for you and I support you, and just because this is the phase you're in doesn't mean I don't love you. I just think this is what you need to work on. And I do the same thing with her and vice versa. So it's such a good exchange that we have of like, my opinion, her opinion, like, and sort of also like there's no judgment. And there are things I may disagree with or she disagrees with, but it doesn't change the source of our friendship, and it doesn't really change how we view each other, and we bond amazingly. And it's an incredible thing to have, really like a wonderful person to have in my life. So I feel really great and positive about you know, female friendships too, and I kind of honor them and care for them. Not to say that any other friendships don't matter, but she's sort of shown me what it is to have someone that is so energetically connected to you and there for you no matter what, that it's like a familial bond. That's quite awesome that I have that. So those are two examples of healthy, relationships in my life. Both happen to be women of different ages. So now let's dive into unhealthy relationships. So for myself personally, and of course, I'm only going to be using my own experiences for these examples and no one else's. However, if you relate to them, that's super cool. I would like to start with like my first relationship. So I was relatively young. I was a teenager. I was 15, and we were friends for a while, and it was good. We were both really young, and I think because it was my first boyfriend, I didn't really know my own boundaries with men. I didn't really know boundaries in general. We came from different families, different kind of upbringings, different religions, different pretty much everything. Even the way we were raised morally was very different. He and I had a lack of boundaries, and it was like we were together all the time, and it was addicting and problematic, and we did fight, and I was very angry with him. He was like kind of passive towards it. That was a really difficult time in my life, but I didn't recognize it because I was young and I thought this was normal. It was not abusive in any way or, even considered to be bad, but the attachment was the issue. So, like, this was a good guy and I was a good girl, and in our own fashions, we were good people, but together, the attachment we had was not healthy. And that's where this really comes into play. You don't have to be a bad person, or the other person needs to be bad for you to not have a healthy attachment. And I think that's something that we all kind of struggle to understand, because we'll like villainize people that we just don't connect with, or like, why is it this person and I just can't seem to click? Like, what is it about us? And really, it's the type of relationship you have with them, because you know, them to someone else can be their bestest friend and like they're super amazing and sweet, but your attachment is sort of what taints that experience for you. What is considered healthy attachment versus unhealthy attachment? Healthy attachment, having boundaries, setting boundaries, super important. That's with anybody, but absolutely, if you're trying to sustain a friendship or relationship, you absolutely need boundaries. It's not to say you can't talk to them about anything or if something's on your mind, but you know, I know inherently the types of friends that I should go to if I'm sad versus the types of friends I want to go to if I'm in a party mood versus the types of friends I go to, you know, just to catch up. So you have different people in your life and they kind of serve you different things too, right? And I mean, if you're like me, you have trouble categorizing that and you want all your friends to be those people that you could do everything with. But the truth is, unfortunately, that's not the case. And different things play into it, like when you met them and how long you've known them for, the types of conditions you become friends under. And it's not to say these can't change, but like a mature friendship, a long lasting friendship, you're more likely to open up more deeply about yourself than someone you just met. And if you do for both, the effects might not always be the same with the person you've known for a long time. They've seen different versions of you, different phases of your life, and they know that you're going through it. But maybe with a newer friend, they'll be like, oh no, this is someone who has a lot of issues from the time I've met them, you know? So like, it's really difficult knowing who you can confide into and who is just meant to kind of have fun with. And so I think knowing how to set boundaries, create them, doesn't mean, you know, there's a blockage in the friendship, but just kind of like creating this sort of understanding mutually of one another. Super, super important. So I'd say that is a great number one to healthy friendships and relationships. Another is maintaining your identity. So regardless of who you become attached to, who you familiarize yourself with, and the types of groups you're around, try your best to not lose yourself in it. It's so easy to, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't. You know, I really did kind of submit to the groups I was with. And this is common in high school too. Like, you know, you kind of want to fit in into different cliques, or even if cliques don't exist in your school and you went to like a really cool school where everyone was kind of just friends with each other, you still have like these micro groups going around, and you want to resemble the people you're with. You don't want to be outcasted. So you'll try your best to blend in, even if you're not really meant to blend in with people. But you know, human nature, we find a way to do it anyways. I think that maintaining your self-identity, your core values, please, and you know, understanding your center of belief, what makes you comfortable, not comfortable, super duper important. So another thing for healthy attachments is knowing who to attach yourself to. And the reason I say it in such a strange way is because you actually cannot fully always attach yourself to people. So this is the part where we're like, oh, okay, so there are people we cannot be close to. And yeah, unfortunately, I have found myself attaching both positively and negatively to people that don't represent the things I believe in or I care for. And that makes it so difficult, because when you're well attached to someone who you know is really not for you, it's hard because now you care about them and now you have that attachment to them, and you know, you rely on them for emotional support, or you rely on them for even day-to-day stuff, like just going out here, going out there, going to a coffee shop, like little things that kind of boost you. This is your person that you do it with, or these are your people. And now you know that this connection might not be 100% what you want it to be. It's difficult because, you know, we naturally want to be friends with people we like all the time. And sometimes it really is a matter of understanding who you click with and who you don't, and trying to force a connection. It will happen, but is that really the connection you want and need to succeed and to thrive? And that's something that people need to reflect on in order to better understand the attachments they're able to make. Now that we've talked about some healthy attachment tips, let's talk about some examples of unhealthy attachment examples we'll dive into. Pretty much for unhealthy attachment, when to know that you have an unhealthy attachment is you're neglecting your self-care, you're neglecting your mental health, or you're neglecting your boundaries. So pretty much overall, you're neglecting yourself to please someone else. And I know this will happen sometimes, sometimes you want to make someone feel better. And even if you're risking feeling bad, you're going to do it because that's just the kind of person you are. And that's okay when it's, really circumstantial, but that's something you want to avoid. It can become very detrimental in the long end. I've discovered for myself, and I think that it's sort of important to realize that. So for unhealthy attachments, how to know is the person kind of confuses you emotionally. You understand cognitively that this is your friend, or this is your girlfriend, or this is your boyfriend, or maybe even a family member, and you are aware this is someone I'm supposed to love and I'm supposed to feel these good feelings for, but I'm like addicted to this sort of friendship thing, a relationship sort of, and not addicted in the sense where like I can't live without it, but like they're just part of my life now. Why don't I feel good about them? Why do I have such negative thoughts towards them? They're so amazing. They're so sweet. They're so this. Everyone loves them. But why do I feel like there's just something wrong when I think of them? I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good about our friendship. That is a huge indicator that you have a very unhealthy attachment to someone who may or may not be wonderful, but again, not for you. And one more thing, so another little tip of what a unhealthy attachment can look like is other people noticing that there is something wrong and other people distancing themselves possibly because of it. And I think this is a little specific, but really, when you have other friends or other family members or your partner telling you, hey, I know you really love person A, but I don't really see you happy with that friendship, and I don't really see you thriving, and I don't really see you even speaking well of them. And maybe it isn't that. Maybe instead it's, hey, I know you care about person A, but whenever you come back from hanging out with them, you seem down. Or why is it you're so stressed out when you're texting person A? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay? You're like, yeah, no, I'm fine. It's just, we just have this sort of friendship, or we have this sort of relationship. It's nothing to worry about. It is indeed something to worry about. Look, toxic positivity is just as bad, so I'm not going to be that person who's like, get rid of everything in your life that doesn't serve you and blah, blah. But the truth is, you will always have mixed attachments to people. You'll go through phases where someone's positive and someone isn't, and it could be the same person, which is like confusing. Really having a good relationship with yourself and knowing yourself and what you can handle is what will best protect you from these scenarios, because it's not always the person. I think that a lot of us can understand, however easy it is to recognize that like we may not always have amazing attachments to people. They're still there and they're not just going to leave. So if you're in a relationship, or you have a friendship, or you have a family member that you are currently in this sort of entanglement of attachment to, and you don't really know where you can start to fix it, boundaries are the best. Prioritizing yourself, no neglecting your own needs, respecting how the person feels, but also communicating how you feel. These are very, very important, because I know we can't just fix things, and I know we can't get rid of people all the time. We could cut off people that really aren't good for us, but if the person is not the issue, we don't want to do that. So I think in this sort of scenario, the best thing we can do is to really work on how we understand our relationships in our lives. And when we're around these people or talking to these people, try to be mindful of what you're saying and mindful of what you're receiving. Because really the best way to fix this would also be to just address these types of things that go on, and to I suppose, evaluate the conversations you're having and the events you're going to. You know, if you feel you go maybe to the bar too much with a certain friend and, you know, you guys do have a good connection, but it's a little like, we only hang out when we're drinking, and you want to do something more positive. It's maybe a bit strange at first, but do that little, hey, let's go to the cafe instead, or let's go do something different today. You know, there's always ways to propose ideas to people and things without needing to really confront the idea head on. So that's really what I have to say when it comes to all that. I have such a tiny piece that I wrote for this today, so it was not deep. It's just my own little thing. Actually, it's quite far back in my book too, but it really relates to what we're talking about. This is what I wrote kind of regarding all of this. I've relied on external sources to satisfy my being. I had fallen to trends when I knew my soul cannot blend. That's literally it. That's literally all it was. And what that means to me is very much just that I attached myself to people who I knew were not good for me, or people that I enjoyed but did not serve me the best. And that's part of my problem as an individual. But I know that my personality and I know that my character is sensitive, which is something I've discussed before. I'm a more sensitive person emotionally, and I cannot blend in with these sort of things. I understand for myself that I need to be around people who are understanding of anxiety, of, you know, medical issues, are understanding that I'm someone who needs space. And in the same fashion, these are the sort of things I return in my friendships as well, in my relationship. Boundaries between everyone. You know, I always keep boundaries with people, but I used to not. And ultimately, it's the healthiest thing for myself. And I think that I know for my journey, I've expanded a lot since kind of creating that distance and evaluating how I interact. So, if this brought you anything good today, I hope it did. And if not, that's okay. Maybe another video in the future would be something that you can relate to. I also just want to thank you if you made it this far into the video, because I know my videos are long. I think the last one was 48 minutes, and I was like, oh, I got so many less views on it too, because I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a really long video. But I'll try to make them sweeter and shorter. Today was a bit longer too, like, than I was trying to go for, but yeah, I really just kind of wanted to bring that up and also remind everyone that it's normal. Ups and downs will happen with everyone. Attachments are very difficult to both maintain, sustain, and they will not always be positive and negative as long as you are consciously aware of it and you're trying your best to make these things healthy and normal in your life. That's all you can do, and usually there is a good benefit that comes with it. So that's all for today. Thank you so much, and I hope I see you all soon. Bye, guys.